Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session specifically for nicotine addiction. And for some people, it's not the act of smoking that is really the issue as much as it is the feeling of necessity of nicotine. And this particular client had had periods of smoking, periods of being on vapes. On times that they had given up, they had this element of sometimes using patches or gums. So there was a real feeling of needing nicotine. And there's a fantastic book about smoking cessation called Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking. And it talks in terms of nicotine addiction being a monster. I actually use a dragon as the kind of antagonist in this particular metaphor. But he talks in terms of feeding the monster. And actually, when people quit or attempt to quit anything with nicotine, sometimes they fall into the positive idea, but actually it can cause more issues. And that is that they need to taper off, that perhaps they're replacing a smoking addiction or a smoking habit with a vaping, or they might go cold turkey but continue to use gums and patches. They're still getting nicotine, and that's like feeding the monster. It's keeping the addiction or keeping the habit alive. And actually, nicotine can only exist in the body. It has a half-life of just a few days. So that is going to be, for most people, an uncomfortable thing, because a lot of people have nicotine withdrawals. And that can happen with almost any stimulant. If you think of someone that drinks a lot of coffee and they have a few days without it, they might be cranky and grumpy and have fatigue and lethargic. It just doesn't last very long. And once you're through that, then, your body and your brain recalibrates. This particular client wanted to quit for health reasons, particularly gum health, but also they wanted to have this kind of idea that in the future they would have mobility and energy and health. So the primary concern was gums, but the second is that it could lead, if they continue to smoke, to have some kind of a health issue like a stroke or a heart attack. So there's an element of timeline therapy here, first to experience a undesirable future, and then to experience or observe a more desirable future if the nicotine addiction is broken. And there's also, and I find it very helpful when I'm working with people to quit anything, is to have a symbolic or ritualistic event that takes place. And if that's alcohol, it could be not just putting things in the bin, but deliberately and symbolically pouring everything down a plug hole. You could say that's not needed, like it's still not there if they're in the bin, but the symbolism of it can help. So smashing up vapes with a hammer can actually lead to an emotional connection with the feeling of freedom of that, and that's why that's suggested here. So if you do have a nicotine addiction, there might be certain elements of here. Maybe you're worried about future health issues, or maybe just the dependency, and you don't want that monster, that dragon, kind of haunting you for the rest of your life. You might get some value from this. It was created for an individual though. So if you do like the idea of something more bespoke, tailored to your needs and your circumstances and your motives, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule that free consultation call to explore working with me. For now though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow your eyelids to close. And as they close, feel yourself drifting into a state of calm and relaxation. And when you breathe in, set the intention to breathe in just 1 or 2% deeper than the previous breath. And as you exhale, just allow that breath to be a longer, elongated exhale. As you notice, the deeper you breathe in, the longer you breathe out. And the deeper your breath, the more tension is released in that outward breath. And just start to release any tension in your forehead, around your jaw, neck and shoulders. That's it. And use the power of your imagination to picture a familiar lake. In fact, imagine being a bird flying over incredible countryside towards that lake. And from that high perspective, imagine seeing the outline of mountains and forests and see that lake. But imagine seeing the lake on a windy day as you start flying down towards a wooden dock. And as you touch down on the wooden dock, feel like you're touching down as you are, taking that first-person perspective, breathing in that fresh air, and realizing that fresh air is all you need. Breathe in that fresh air and feel like you're letting go of limitations and dependency. Feel it leave your body as you breathe out. And see the surface of the lake with choppy water and allow it to mirror feelings of unsettledness. I want you to feel that before any change takes place, there's always some turbulence. Part of you wants to make the change, and a part of you is clinging on to all the things it gave you in the past and you feel it may give you in the future. Feel that there is a psychological tug of war taking place. The part that wants to change and the part that wants the status quo. And start to acknowledge that the part that wants the status quo will be looking for reasons to either not change or to revert back. So breathe in and breathe out. And just allow that part to be validated, acknowledged, that you accept that for a long time, smoking gave you things. It gave you a sense of predictability, control. It felt like a source of comfort, release. It was there when you were angry, and it was there when you were stressed, and it was there when you were relaxing by the side of a lake. And I want you to acknowledge all of those times, and at the same time start to feel that knowing what you now know, you would never have started. And if that feels like it's true, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to feel that as you breathe in deeper and exhale for longer, that the turbulent waters of the lake are starting to calm. The waves get smaller and start to feel that the lake becoming still. As your mind quietens, the lake becomes calm. And I want you to feel that you've been holding on to a belief for many years now that you need nicotine. And the truth is, you don't. You just wanted it. And sometimes you wanted it so bad that an argument was all it took to go back. And I want you to consider a future where you want nicotine more than you want a life without it. So imagine floating up over that lake, and let's go forward in time 1 year. 1 year of going through the motions, of trying and reverting back, sometimes vaping, sometimes smoking. That nicotine is that familiar friend. And I want you to think of a friend that you used to have in your childhood. It was a great friend, good times. But as you got older, that good friend was no longer a good friend. That the friend was taking more than it was giving. That it wasn't good times anymore. Just a sense of familiarity and false loyalty. As you consider the idea that nicotine has become that the feelings of desire are now just habitual feelings of familiarity. So observe that future version of yourself, perhaps for 2 or 3 years, and observe yourself looking into a bathroom mirror as you notice a tooth has become wobbly. And just feel yourself wobbling that tooth. And it's not long before a few days go by and that tooth falls out. And just observe. This is the first of perhaps many teeth. That nicotine could lead to gum disease getting worse, and then go forward in time. See that version of you that is justifying it all. You found a good dentist with implants. Nobody knows, but you know. See it going on. Receding gum line. Find yourself smiling differently to hide what you know is there, but not everyone else does. The bleeding increases. And maybe go forward to a time where many more implants are needed, or even dentures. I want you to go forwards in time. Perhaps see yourself with a young child. I want you to get a sense that even a new child isn't enough to make a change. Not because you need nicotine, you just want it. And see that go on. And I want you to imagine your child is perhaps 7, 8 or 9, and the first major health issue happens. Maybe a mild heart attack, a small stroke, and even that isn't enough to become the point of threshold. And you continue. Maybe vaping, maybe smoking. You brush it off, you justify it. Observe as you see that future. You become older. The child becomes older. But this time it isn't a mild scare. It's a major one. But I want you to take the perspective not of you being an observer. Take the perspective of your child, maybe a teenager at this point, witnessing a major health issue, maybe coughing up blood, maybe a stroke, maybe a heart attack. Experience their pain. Experience their sadness. I want you to get a sense that you're observing yourself maybe recovering from some kind of hospital. I want you to hear the doctors say that you will recover, but there's certain limitations now. Maybe you need a pacemaker, or maybe a wheelchair. And at the point where you are now in a state of recovery, but with those limitations, take on a first-person perspective. Maybe in the chair with the pacemaker. And I want you to allow that anger to grow. You're not angry at anyone else. You're angry at yourself. You're angry at a time when you could have chose a different path but didn't. I want you to amplify it as you make the evaluation of all of those things you can now never do, all the moments that you will miss out on, and just amplify that until you reach the point of certainty that you will do whatever it takes to reduce the probability of having nicotine take so much and give so little. And when you arrive at that place, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And I want you to feel in that moment of anger, of a desire to do anything to avoid it, to float up out of your body and go back to that dock by the side of the lake, where you start to see nicotine as a trap, as a familiar saboteur, as something that seems harmless but comes at a price. I want you to think of what your reaction would be having some kind of flavored vape, maybe blueberry or strawberry. And just imagine taking that vape to your lips and feel a sense of disgust. And just imagine that any cigarette or any vape created that feeling of disgust. That not having nicotine would almost be easy. And if it feels that not wanting something makes not having it easy, let me know by nodding your head. And I wonder what has to happen for you to feel that you could vape but don't want to, that you could smoke but don't want to, that you could have a patch or a gum but don't want to, that all this time you've been feeding a monster and you are reaching a point of absolute tenacity and desire to starve the monster once and for all. Create the number 77 in your mind's eye. As it dawns on you, not once but twice, you've had a period of time where you did defeat the nicotine monster and then voluntarily chose to resurrect it. But I want you to hold on to the thought that if you've defeated it before, you can defeat it again. And if you acknowledge that to be true, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to think of a date in the near future. A date to slay that nicotine monster. And in the period leading up to that day, all vapes will be destroyed in a symbolic way, not just throwing them in the trash, but maybe with a hammer or a blowtorch, something dramatic and memorable, something symbolic. And I want you to imagine that happening in your mind's eye just a few days from now. And if you can think of a symbolic way of destroying anything that could be a vehicle for nicotine, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to step into that thought. So rather than observing you destroying that nicotine, feel how good it feels to feel that by doing that, destroying it in that dramatic, symbolic way, that you are slaying the dragon. Only this time, when you slay the dragon, you are also making a resolution not to resurrect it again. How many times do you want to slay the dragon before it's done? That you free up all of that emotional, cognitive, all of that thinking time, all of that opportunity to do other things. And I want you to imagine seeing a whole different timeline. That version of you that symbolically slays the dragon. Follow that version of you. Seeing the first week or so may be tough. Seeing that cantankerous version of you, and yet smiling because you know that that means it's working. You are starving the dragon with a feeling that if you're going to do this, let's do it. And follow that version of you where you successfully get through that first week. See yourself with a resolve, starting to see that previous opportunities to mooch or vape are now traps. Like the calls of the siren to lure you back. So carry on that future. And maybe you see yourself becoming a father with no sight of nicotine anywhere near. And I want you to start seeing a future where your child only ever knows you as someone that never smokes, never vapes. It's just a past that they will never know. And I want you to feel an immense sense of pride that the knowledge that you can live without it feels better than ever having it. And if that future feels more appealing than the temporary gratification of a cigarette or a vape, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to go far into the future now. See yourself maybe with a teenage child. And I want you to see yourself with energy and health and vitality. That you are a father with the ability to do so much, even in your later years. And that thought gives you so much satisfaction and pride. And I want you to picture a memory that hasn't happened yet but could happen in the future. An important memory of you with a child. A significant milestone perhaps. The kind of milestone where pictures are taken But I want you to see yourself with a beaming smile, with natural, healthy teeth, even as you're older. And feel that this is your compelling vision of the future. A future of health, vitality, of confidence. And if this feels like a preferable timeline, let me know by nodding your head. And then go back to that dock, looking out at that still lake, and feel that all of this is a choice. I want you to imagine this is no longer about the false belief of needing it, because your own experiences prove that you don't. The only question is, how badly do you want it? And is the price worth the payoff? So allow a seed to be planted deep in your unconscious mind that the next few days will lead to a choice. A choice of continuing on the journey of trying and failing, or a choice to symbolically slay the dragon of nicotine once and for all. It's time to breathe in and breathe out and feel like you're returning to the present moment with a sense of resolve that you're just days away from a life-changing decision. So breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes as I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.